What's up my loves, my name is Paige, this is Pages with Paige, and today we're going to be doing the Romance Trope Tag. So this tag was originally created by Ashley from Ash's Infinite Library, and I'll leave a link to their blog post in the description box below along with the questions, so you can answer this for yourself if you would like as well. So these are all based off romance book tropes, and I really like these questions. I was thinking of trying to create like a BDSM smutty 50 Shades of Smut book tag, but nope, my brain was not having it, so I decided to find a romance book tag to sort of fit in with the theme of Not Safe for Workathon. So let's dive into the questions. The first is Love at First Sight, a book you fell in love with almost immediately. And definitely Girl Made of Stars by Ashley Herring Blake. The entire premise of this, the cover, just everything about it, I knew that I was going to absolutely adore it, and it ended up becoming one of my all-time favorites. So I'm very happy that the second it started making its round on BookTube and people hyping it up, I was like, yes, I know that one's for me, and it most certainly was. This is a really impactful book. I'm dealing with the protagonist's twin brother has been accused of rape by the best friend of the protagonist, and it's dealing with the dynamics of the protagonist knows that her brother wouldn't ever do something like that, but she also knows her best friend wouldn't lie about it. So there's a lot of interesting dynamics around it, and I think it's handled absolutely amazingly, and I adored it. The next is Forbidden Love, a romantic pairing that you probably shouldn't love but do. And I'm going with Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. So Pike and Jordan in this are just yes, amazing. I love them together so much. Saying that he's 38 and she's 19, it's all consensual, it's all done so beautifully, but the way that the dynamic is done is utterly brilliant. I adored it with my entire heart and soul, and I love this book so goddamn much, but I know I probably shouldn't love it as much as I do, but fuck it. They're all consenting adults. The next is Stuck Together or Forced Proximity, a book you felt pressured to read, so whether that be by a friend, Bookstagram, bloggers, anything like that. And I'm going with I Let You Go by Claire McIntosh. So I wasn't necessarily pressured to read this, but I made a bet with my friend that circumstances would happen and he would cave and do a particular behavior. He did not cave, so I said I would read this because it's one of his absolute favorites, and I was like, okay, like I've picked it up, I will get to it eventually, but just the speed in which I got to it was then the pressure was on because he managed to not cave. So I ended up absolutely loving this, and I'm really thankful that he did push me to pick it up and read it, but it definitely was one that I needed that little extra push, but not in a bad way. So yeah, very happy that I read it. The next is Mistaken Identity, a book that wasn't what you were expecting, and I'm going with Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I have read it this month, and you'll see my full thoughts in my wrap up, but I went in expecting to hate this. I don't know what it was, I was like, no, I'm not gonna like this. I like dark academia, I like those sort of vibes, but I was just like, nah, I don't know what it is. So I was fully ready to trash on this book, and I've really, really enjoyed it. So I don't know what I was expecting in terms of why I was gonna hate it, but I had the expectation that I was gonna hate it, and it definitely was not that. It was a fun, fast-paced, paranormal, dark academic, just brilliant. And yeah, so took me by surprise, but I'm not mad about it. The next is Second Chance Romance, a book or series you enjoyed more the second time round. So I don't reread a lot of books. There are some that I have, and obviously I do my yearly reread of Matilda, but I don't feel like it gets better any time round. It hits in different ways. So the one that I'm going with is Clan of the Cave Bear by Jean M. O. I never know how to pronounce it. Essentially, I read this years ago, and I appreciated it. I really enjoyed it when I read it, but I could appreciate it more the second time round because I wasn't having to think as hard about keeping up with the characters because I didn't know the general storyline. There were definitely key elements that I'd forgotten. There was a lot of it that was still like it was brand new because I hadn't retained it the first time round. So the second time was so much more enjoyable, and I got so much out of it, and I'm really, really happy that I reread it. I always knew that I was going to, even after reading it the first time, because I want to continue on with the series and I could remember nothing. So I'm really happy that I did reread it this year, and it's one that has now stuck a little bit stronger in my brain, and yeah. Number 6 is Opposites Attract. A book you love from a genre you don't usually read, and I'm going with The Butterfly Garden by Dot Hutchinson. It's been a little while since I've mentioned this, I think, but it was a mystery thriller, not gory, but it had elements of finding out what these kidnappers had done to these girls in the Butterfly Garden, and holy shit, it was so fucking intense, but I absolutely adored it. I think the way that Dot describes these experiences was so well done, and each little reveal after reveal just kept you intrigued, and I was utterly hooked. It is absolutely fantastic. Number 7 is Enemies to Lovers, a book whose second half is better than the first, or a series that gets better over time. And I'm going with the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb. I just didn't really like Assassin's Apprentice. That's a lie. I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. I couldn't get into the high fantasy elements because I wasn't a high fantasy reader at the time that I read it, and it all just brushed over. It was a great reading experience, but at the end of the day I didn't get much from it. I was just like, okay, cool, that was confusing but enjoyable. And so for me to continue on, I really felt that Royal Assassin and Assassin's Quest stepped up the game. Also, my reading experience of it was better because I was able to appreciate it more, having read more high fantasy and actually gotten into that genre. So it got better in terms of her writing style, and also the plot progression just went holy shit, and things started tying together, and it was really fantastic. And then I could also appreciate that more, being the reader that I was. It's definitely one that seems to be 4 stars, and then the rest go to 5 stars. So yes, definitely gets better as time goes on. Some people don't like Assassin's Apprentice much as Royal Assassin, but I found that I enjoyed Assassin's Quest more, which is the third one. Number 8 is fantastic, and it's Love Triangle. Your house is on fire and you can only save one series. Which 2 series do you die trying to choose between? So I've gone with the Wayfarer series by Becky Chambers and the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series by Laini Taylor. I adore both of these series so fucking much, and I'd be grabbing these, just this entire shelf would just be coming with me. But trying to decide which of these 2 I needed to take would be absolutely something that I end up catching on fire because I cannot make a decision. So I love both of these series so much. Originally these were both trilogies, and then this series has been extended on, so there is now a 4th book. I think that is the conclusion, I'm not sure. Because these are all like companion standalones, you don't have to read them as a series. You could just read each individual one. I recommend still reading them in order if you are going to read them as a series, but you can, because it just lays foundations, but it's not necessary if one sounds more appealing than the other. This was definitely the easiest question to answer, but the hardest to decide between. Number 9 is Friends to Lovers, a book you wanted more from, and I'm going with The Furies by Katie Lowe. I had this as a 5-star prediction, and I just felt very let down by it. And I think the reason I was hesitant and expecting to hate Ninth House was because there's been a lot of comparisons between the 2, even though they're really nothing alike, aside from the dark academic vibes. I feel that Ninth House hit more of those notes that I wanted, whereas this just let me flat. But I read this first, so then I was expecting a similar sort of scenario with Ninth House, and that was definitely not the case. So yeah, it didn't hit the right notes for me, and I think because I had such high expectations and I was really intrigued and ready to go into this and love it, for it to just fall flat was, yeah, I wish I got more from it. Number 10 is Meet Cute, a book that got you hooked on romance. So around the end of September, beginning of October in 2019, I went on a massive romance contemporary kick, reading all of the different romance and absolutely loving it. December was when I read Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas as well. So we went through a quite heavy duty romance phase, which is absolutely fine. I loved it. And one of those books that kicked it off was Well Met by Jen DeLuca. Renaissance Fair, Grump, Sunshine, Hate to Love, brilliant. Just everything about this was so fantastic. It was so funny. It was really just something that I realized is the perfect palette cleanser for me. And whilst everyone in October is reading the spooky books, for us it's coming into spring. So I was like, oh, okay, I actually am kind of a seasonal reader. I'm just reading all of the ones that everyone read earlier in the year. But I really enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun with it, and it definitely got me hooked on reading more romance because it showed me the things that I really love in romance books. Number 11 is soulmates. Two characters that are made for each other, and I'm going with the relationship that's in here. Okay, I can understand people questioning this, but I'm going with it because I feel like they are perfection. It is to the T what I love, and Alice just can't help that she's a tiny little bit gone off the rails. But I really think these two are perfect for each other, and I really hope Heather Walter doesn't break my soul in the second, because I have a feeling she's going to. And number 12 is bonus, your favorite romance trope or tropes, and a book that features it. And I'm going with The One Bed Trope and The Flag Shirt by Beth O'Leary. I absolutely adored this when I read it. Similar sort of time to Well Met, all of that. I just had a lot of fun with it. I think The One Bed Trope is fucking hilarious. What makes it funnier, in retrospect, I was like chill, like, oh yeah, people would share a bed. Really, questionable. The premise of this, looking back, is probably very questionable, but I loved it regardless. And someone goes, the most unrealistic thing about this is the fact that they don't change the sheets every day. I was like, oh, that is very true. If you're not in a relationship with someone, like, I can understand that being quite funky, but I adored this. It was so funny, and the discussions that occur in here are so heartfelt and just beautiful. And yeah, I definitely love The One Bed, but I know you gotta suspend your disbelief, but that's fine. So these are just some of my answers to the romance trope tag. So let me know in the comments your love triangle. What would be two series that you would die trying to choose between? This is the only time I love triangles. The perfect concept. So yes, let me know in the comments below, what series would you die trying to save from a fire? If you like this video, feel free to give it a big thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more of this mess, feel free to subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you in my next video. Bye!